Welcome, my name is Lexi Jong, and here I like to talk about luxury makeup. Today, we're going to be talking about the new limited edition Dior blush in 361, and I'm not exactly sure how to say it, Millefiori. Anyway, there is a 361 that was part of the permanent collection, Rose Baiser, I believe it was, and I don't have that shade, but if anybody has that and this, I would love to know, and there are several people who have DM'd me wondering whether or not they are the actual same shades. So if you have that information, I would love it if you could leave it down below in the comment field for everyone who is trying to figure that out. My guess is they are probably the same shade. Anyway, this shade 361 has come out in celebration of the new Miss Dior fragrance. And it's got this beautiful flower imprinting. I have been using it, so you can see it's not quite as sharp as it was. But if you'd like to see the new untouched pictures, I do have that on my Instagram account at Alexis Jong. So this is beautiful, and I wanted to kind of play with this a little bit before reviewing it for a couple of reasons. When I was creating the Instagram pictures for this, I noticed that, first of all, look how lightly it swatches. That's one swatch. I'm gonna put a second layer on here. And that's not always an issue for blush. You know, sometimes it swatches, you know, pretty lightly, but then looks much better on the cheeks, which is the case with this. I think it's a really beautiful shade, but it is a light shade. It's intended to be a light shade, so there's nothing wrong with it, okay? It is intended to be a light shade. But the reason I want to play with it is you can see I've been swatching right here, and I actually got a little hard pan there at first. So I wanted to go ahead and kind of investigate that a little bit. I did remove it. And yeah, it does seem that the oils from my fingers does cause hard pan on this. But once I remove it, there have been no issues with application or anything like that. No, I do have the blush on right now. And I have a demo using a soft squirrel hair brush in my Suku brush video from the weekend, so I'll leave that link down below. And right now I'm going to cut to a clip showing you the application for today, where we use the Sonia G Smooth Buffer. And the Sonia G Smooth Buffer, you can see, is a much denser brush, so you can really kind of buff the product in, and it's going to make it a little bit more pigmented than a softer brush will. So let's cut to that, and then we'll... So on my skin right now, I have the Cocondo Aqua Foundation in 012 with a very, very light dusting of the Sisley Pressed Powder in number 1. And we're going to go ahead and use a buffing brush to get some of this blush. This is 361. And I do have a light application shown in my Suku brush video. So you can see the pigment on here. And let's see how pigmented it goes on. So there's a light dusting. We're going to layer that up again. So you can definitely build the color, but it's still, you know, it's a light shade, so it's not going to work for every skin tone, in my opinion. You know, once you get to like medium skin tone, it's gonna be harder to build up to a suitable color, in my opinion. But again, I don't know that from experience. So you can see that this blush gives kind of like this pearly effect. It's not as like glistening or anything as a shimmery blush or like one of those highlighter blushes, but there is a little bit of a pearly sheen to the actual satin finish. So this is the blush from a distance. I think it's a beautiful, natural, everyday pink shade. It works very well for my skin tone. But again, I don't think this is going to work on deeper skin tones. So overall, you can see that the blush is a light pearly pink. It's a really, really beautiful shade. It's like a really soft, like flower petal pink shade. And I think it's gorgeous. It works really well for my skin tone and for my complexion. But I do think that people who have much deeper skin tones, it's probably not going to work. I just think the amount of building you'll have to do to get to that pigmentation level is just kind of not worth it, in my opinion. but hopefully I'm wrong. So if anybody has experience with that, please let me know. I would love to know. And you can see, looking at this swatch here, that there's a little bit of a pearly effect. It's not really shimmery. It's like a satin finish blush, but it's not a shimmery one like some of the other Dior blushes. It has more of that pearly effect to it. And let's go ahead and we're gonna start off with some comparisons. So we're gonna start off with some Dior blushes first. This is number 219, Rose Montagna. And this is another satin finish blush. You can see that this one is a little bit more powdery. I'm gonna leave a little space because this is not gonna be close, but you can see how much more pigmented Rose Montagna is with just one layer versus 3 layers of the new 361. And you can see that the Rose Montagna is actually gonna be a little bit more of a coral-based blush. This one here is 353. This is the one that came out for the holiday in 2020. I'm gonna put this one right above Rose Montagna there. You can see this one is a true shimmery blush. Again, it's gonna be more pigmented. This one actually has sparkle. So unlike the pearly effect that you have in 361, this one's actually more of a glittery effect. It's more like a highlighter blush. And then another sparkly one that I have, this is 468. This is the one that just came out in the fall collection. We're gonna just squeeze that in right here. You can see that this one is gonna be more nude based. It's also a light blush, but it's still not gonna be quite as light as the new one. And I'm just gonna re-swatch this one here. And you can see as I'm swatching it, you can see the hard pan kind of developing there. So just something to note. That does kind of bring it down a little bit in my estimation. You know, it's just, that's kind of, it's a hassle because you then have to remove it. The product though, however, does still work well. Let's see if I can get a little bit more. It's really, hold on, let me just remove this hard pan. All right, so here's the 361. You can see how much lighter in pigmentation it is. Now we're gonna go ahead and do a few more comparisons. We're gonna go on to Pat McGrath. This one here is Nymphette, and Nymphette is another soft pink shade here. You can see though that, again, the pigmentation level is gonna be a little bit stronger. Sorry, this line here is just a stain on my arm lipstick swatches from yesterday. You'd be surprised how hard some of those lipstick stains are to get off. This one here is another Pat McGrath. This one is Flirtatious. So you can see that Flirtatious is more of a nude shade compared to the pink from 361. And then we're gonna look at a couple Hermes blushes. This one is 28 Rose Plume. And you can see that this one is gonna be a little bit cooler in tone. And then we're also going to take a look at number 32, Rose Pommette. This one's going to be a bit deeper pink here. And then let's take a look at a couple Chanel's. This is 68, Rose Écrin. And we're going to put this one right up here in between. You can see it's more nude. Here's the Dior. And then my last one here is 72 Rose Initial from Chanel. And we're gonna put this right going down the side. You can see it's definitely much brighter, more pigmented. Now, because this blush is so light, we might as well compare it to one of the Sisley highlighting blushes. This is the L'Orchidée blush in number 2, Rose. I'm trying to just get this part here. And let's go ahead and we'll squeeze it in right there. And you can see that this is definitely our closest match. The Sisley though is a little bit more pink. It's a little bit of a cooler tone. Let me add it to the top as well so you can see it a little bit better. So again, this is 1 layer of the Sisley versus 3 of the Dior. But you can see that pigmentation wise, it's much more comparable to these Sisley L'Orchidée blushes. However, these are a little bit more powdery. So it's a little bit, you get more product up more easily with these than you do with the Dior. It's not like it's hard to get the Dior product up. It's just not as powdery. So not as much comes up at one time, if that makes sense. Now, as for my thoughts on this blush, I have to say the presentation of this is stunning. I love the imprint. Of course, the imprint is going to wear away if you're actually using it. So, you know, as much as I really like the imprint and I'm going to enjoy it while it's there, it probably will go away fairly quickly. If I continue to swatch it and have to remove the hardband, it will definitely go away quickly. But just using a brush, it does kind of fade much more softly, and you can keep that imprint for quite a while, even though it's like a little blurred. Now, as for the actual color of this blush, I love it. I love the way it looks on my skin. I don't have a highlighter on. This is it. This is that pearly effect from the blush that you get. And I think it is stunning. I love the effect. I love the way it looks. The only thing I don't like is this development of hard pan. Because, you know, to me, it just, there's something off. However, I have to say that the Dior blushes in general, I find to be a little more powdery than my typical preference in general. So I do appreciate that this one is less powdery. I just wish that, you know, when I swatched it, it didn't develop hard pan. That being said, most people probably won't be swatching their blushes. I have not developed hard pan using it with a blush or with a brush. And as long as I'm not swatching it, I don't expect to develop it. I do personally really like this blush shade, and I am happy that I picked it up. You know, I just think it's stunning. I love the way it looks on. So overall, I would definitely say this is a great blush for fair and light complexions. And once you start getting a little bit deeper, medium and beyond, I feel like you're gonna have to really build it up, and it's probably not going to work well for deeper skin tones. So that would be basically my breakdown on this. I don't really think any of the blushes I have quite compare. The closest, however, is the Sisley L'Orchidee and Rose. And I think that's a really great comparison, and you know, it's a good alternative to it. However, keep in mind the price point on those varies a lot. This Dior blush retails for $46 US. The Sisley L'Orchidee blush, I think it's $115 if I recall correctly. And let me just compare the sizes. So the Dior is 6.7 grams or 0.23 ounces. And the Sisley is 15 grams. So it's a little bit more than double, but it's also more than double the price. So it kind of depends how much you'd use it. I really like both of these. I think they're both great options. This Dior blush, I have to say the pearly finish on it is unique. The Sisley one gives you a nice shimmery effect, but it's not quite the same. This is almost like if you take a pearly meteorite mixed with a regular blush. And that's, I just absolutely love the effect. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or additional swatches you would like me to compare, please let me know down below in the comments. If you enjoyed this, please be sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe and share if you haven't already. And I will see you very soon. So have a great day and stay safe and healthy.